The fight against human trafficking and violence against persons requires synergy by all stakeholders. It's a collaborative fight for all of government and all of society. On this episode, we bring you NAPTIP's engagement with different stakeholders, geared towards the fulfillment of its mandate. You're welcome to NAPTIP On The Move. My name is Angela Agbegi. The management of NAPTIP recently organized a press briefing on political violence at the agency's headquarters in Abuja. Why political violence, you may ask? Well, our reports will tell you more. Don't go away.
The management of NAPTIP recently organized a press briefing at the agency's headquarters in Abuja. The Director General, Professor Fatima Waziri Azi, addressed the press.
It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to the NAPTIP headquarters for the first time in 2023. And thank you for your contributions to the counter-trafficking and violence against persons efforts of the agency. The purpose of this briefing is to share with you the efforts of the agency towards ensuring a peaceful and violence-free 2023 elections, as provided for in the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015. You may recall that following the enactment of the VAP Act in 2015, NAPTIP was given additional responsibility to implement and enforce the Act in the FCT. The Act provides a legal framework for the protection of persons against all forms of violence in private and public life. The meaningful participation of all persons in political processes is key to achieving a more secure, prosperous, and democratic society. However, this can be obstructed by political violence, which is why Section 23 and 24 of the VAP Act prohibits all forms of political violence by individuals and state actors. Political violence is any crime perpetrated in the course of political activities like elections, which includes thuggery, mugging, use of force to disrupt meetings, or the use of dangerous weapons that may cause bodily harm or injury.
She then stated the penalties for offenders.
Specifically, Section 23 provides that a person who commits political violence is liable on conviction to a term of imprisonment of up to 4 years, or a fine of up to 500,000 naira or both. The section further criminalizes any attempt to commit political violence, inciting, aiding, abetting, or counseling another person to commit the crime, including receiving or assisting a person to commit political violence. For state actors, that is, groups of persons, structured or organized institutions and agencies. Section 24 provides the punishment of imprisonment of up to 4 years or a fine of up to 1 million naira or both. Section 24 further provides that the state is liable for the offense committed by its agent, and the court shall award appropriate compensation commensurate with the extent and amount of damages. The VAP Act is very clear about what constitutes political violence and the different categories of persons and groups that will be held liable for committing, inciting, aiding, and abetting political violence in the FCT. These provisions are also applicable to the 35 states that have adopted the VAB Act as law.
Speaking further on the agency's implementation of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 as regards political violence, she highlighted some of the efforts of NAPTIP.
As such, in the midst of political violence across the country since the beginning of the present electioneering process, including those on INEC facilities, it has become necessary for the agency to deliberately work with other sister law enforcement agencies to implement the above referenced sections of the VAB Act at this time. In collaboration with the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD, the agency has put in place a number of mechanisms targeted at sensitizing the public against perpetrating acts of political violence. Since the beginning of this month, carefully curated jingles in English and Pidgin have been airing on 2 local radio stations to warn FCT residents of the consequences of any act of political violence within the period. Awareness creation materials, including posters and red card handbills, have been produced for this purpose. These materials that will be unveiled today will be posted in strategic locations across the 6 area councils of the FCT. In addition, NAPTIP will mobilize its personnel to enforce the relevant sections of the VAB Act during the upcoming elections. Duly trained personnel of the agency will be present at various polling centers at the ward level to monitor and ensure a peaceful voting exercise. Gentlemen of the press, the 2023 elections is about ensuring a peaceful and violence-free transition, and NAPTIP is ready to play its part in safeguarding the integrity of our elections. We implore residents of the FCT to take advantage of our reporting channels and report any act of political violence. In the same token, parents and guardians should please caution their children to stay away from all acts of violence within this election period. We also call on all security agencies to provide NAPTIP the support it may require to get the job done. While thanking the Center for Democracy and Development for their generous support and collaboration in the realization of this mandate, I wish to assure you all that NAPTIP will continue to scale its efforts to protect all persons against human trafficking and violence against persons through a people-centered access to justice and the provision of safe spaces.
The climax of the press briefing was the unveiling of the agency's information, communication and education materials on political violence. Some journalists present asked salient questions which were answered by the Director General. NAPTIP has intensified efforts to ensure effective implementation of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015.
Members of the high-level multi-agency task team, HIMAT, made up of key agencies involved in the implementation of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015, recently held its first meeting for 2023 in Abuja. The meeting was organized by NAPTIP.
The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, with support from the Ford Foundation, organized a one-day stakeholders meeting for high-level multi-agency task team, HIMAT. The meeting was hosted by the National Identity Management Commission.
And it is indeed my pleasure to welcome you all to the first HIMAT meeting of stakeholders for the 2023. NIMC joins all stakeholders in the prohibition of violence against persons and do make bold to say that violence in any form should not be accommodated. I appreciate the work of NAPTIP and the team towards ensuring the implementation of Violence Against Persons Act.
Delivering her opening remarks, the DG of NAPTIP commended the HIMAT team.
Let me thank all the members here for their commitment in tackling SGBV in the FCT So we are here today to further discuss how to strengthen the fight against sexual and gender-based violence, as well as scale our efforts. From January to December 2022, we received 1,342 reports. We had 907 walk-ins, and we received 435 reports via our 24 hours call center. Highest on the list was spousal abuse. Second, we had high number of reportage regarding rape, especially rape of minors. Then we had inflicting physical injury, and fourth was abandonment. We had 91 emergency cases, and what qualifies as emergency cases is when victims need to be rescued on time, like victims of rape and incest. Then we also investigated 154 cases. We had 58 withdrawal of cases. So for everyone working in this space, we know that we usually have a high turnover of withdrawal of cases. Most times it's due to societal pressure, it's due to family pressure as well. Then in 2022, we rescued 352 victims. So victims of domestic and sexual violence. NAPTIP has 13 shelters across the country. We have one in the FCT. And our shelter in the FCT actually caters more for survivors of domestic and sexual abuse more than it does victims of human trafficking. In terms of prosecution, we were able to secure 4 convictions last year, and we currently have 89 cases in courts, in various courts in the FCT. We had conversations with state attorney generals in Sokoto and in Maiduguri, and they issued fiat to NAPTIP. So right now, NAPTIP has the powers to implement the VAP laws, child right laws, and AC, the Administration of Criminal Justice laws in Sokoto and in Maiduguri. So last year in Maiduguri, we secured 2 convictions of rape in Maiduguri, and in Sokoto, we secured our first conviction in December last year, and it was 21 years imprisonment without the option of fine, where a 24-year-old man raped a 5-year-old girl. So for us, that was victory in itself. The issues of domestic and sexual violence is indeed a national crisis, because we are also seeing the trend in our work. So finally, let me use the opportunity to appreciate and commend the efforts of the HIMAT members towards the development of the 2nd edition of the VAP annual report.
Representatives of the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission presented goodwill messages.
At NBS, we are expected to warehouse every data that has to do with woman endeavor, and some of these data are also to be produced by agencies of government. So having this as part of the data that we will be having in our data warehouse for the national use and other agencies and the individual to use is a great achievement to us in NBS, and we are happy to be part of this event, and we will continue to also support in any area that we feel that NBS is needed.
I congratulate NAPTIP, NIMSI, and the Ford Foundation for hosting this meeting. I also commend the stakeholders for their role and commitment in making efforts to successfully implement the VAP Act 2015. As we all know, it is very difficult for any agency to effectively discharge its mandate without adequate collaboration with other critical stakeholders. This is further underscored by the high number of problems and issues abound in our society that needs a multifaceted approach and collaboration. It is on this note that I want to reiterate that the EFCC will keep to its promise to provide all necessary technical expertise in polygraph examination and forensic services in the area of investigation and prosecution of cases related to the VAP Act, while also willing to assist in conducting investigations into the finances derived from illegal activities, especially in cases of money laundered from the proceeds of human trafficking.
The Honorable Minister of Women Affairs addressed the forum.
My mandate and the good work NAPTIP are doing is what is helping to give us hope. The convening of this meeting by NAPTIP and the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, with support from the Ford Foundation is timely, and it provides us all as critical stakeholders to assess our different roles and responsibilities in the implementation of the VAT Act of 2015, which is domiciled with NAPTIP. It is also a time to take stock of how far we have gone, what we are doing well and what we are doing wrong in building synergies around advocacy, implementation of the provisions, monitoring, compliance by state actors and non-state actors in the whole VAT process. Data is critical and there's need for linkages by all stakeholders. At the state level, we have seen renewed commitment in the promotion and protection of the rights and welfare of Nigerian women and children and other persons with disabilities, ensuring women and children's rights to protection and survival lies with our government. These rights cannot be fulfilled without the involvement of members of HIMAC, all members of all well-meaning Nigerians in the society, and every household. Every household, every hand must be on deck to ensure that we deal with sexual and gender-based violence, because it's within every community, within every household.
The gathering was highly interactive as the HIMAT team discussed various issues bordering on the implementation of the VAT Act 2015, efforts made so far by each organization, challenges and the areas of improvement, as well as a presentation on the activities of the National Sexual Offenders Database. The high point of the event was the formal presentation of the 2021 VAP report by the DG NAPTIP to the NBS. The forum ended with remarks by the representative of the Nigeria Correctional Service.
Violence against persons is perhaps the most pervasive disregard for human rights in the world. It is one of the greatest threats to lasting peace and development, hence a matter of national concern. I must say, and most profoundly true, that the VAT Act 2015 is a very critical piece of legislation that speaks volumes about our commitment as a country in ensuring that the dignity of all persons is upheld. The Nigerian Correctional Service now more than ever is committed to delivering on its mandate efficiently with a high sense of humanness. This commitment is further emphasized by the first objective of the Nigerian Correctional Service Act 2019. The Nigerian Correctional Service, as the last leg of the criminal justice system, reserves the responsibility of providing lasting behavioral change to all offenders legally interned. This includes those sentenced for violence against persons through corrective and reformatory regimes.
The meeting was well attended by stakeholders and the officials of the HIMAT team, including the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, National Identity Management Commission, National Bureau of Statistics, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, National Center for Women Development, Nigeria Police Force, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, National Human Rights Commission, Nigeria Correctional Service, and the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP.
The Action Against Trafficking in Persons and Smuggling of Migrants (ATIPSOM) project, implemented by FIAP, held its fourth Project Steering and Coordination Committee meeting. NAPTIP and other stakeholders were in attendance. Keep watching.
The meeting, which was aimed at reviewing and assessing the progress of activities in the past 4 years and validating the work plan for 2023, was attended by the Director General of NAPTIP, team leader of the ATIPSOM project, officials of the European Union, Ministry of Budget and National Planning, Nigeria Immigration Service, Nigeria Police Force, and the Network Against Child Trafficking, Abuse and Labor. The team leader of FIAP, Federico Milan, reiterated support for operational activities of the implementing partners, enhanced international cooperation, and victim support. The high point of the meeting was the adoption of the 2023 work plan. Speaking on the ATIPSOM project, Professor Fatima Waziri Azi said it is impactful.
Almost all the projects that FIAP, EU FIAP has supported has been very impactful. The training of judges that was conducted last year in June was supported by FIAP, which was why last year NAPTIP was able to secure 80 convictions, which is the highest in any single year since the inception of NAPTIP. So I want to say thank you to EU. If EU hadn't put their money behind ATIPSOM, behind FIAP, we won't be here today. We recognize all the efforts, we recognize all the financial and technical support you've given Nigeria. We know that when we talk about issues of human trafficking and smuggling of migrants, it might seem like we are not making any traction, but I assure you that traction is being made, even if traction is not being made at the pace which we want, but your support has been impactful, and the Nigerian government remains thankful and remains grateful.
FIAP is one of NAPTIP's partners in the fight against trafficking in persons and smuggling of migrants.
We bring you some of the recent convictions secured by NAPTIP in 2023. Stay with NAPTIP on the Move.
A Kano State High Court, presided over by Honorable Justice Mariam Sabo, has sentenced a 40-year-old man, Kamilu Ibrahim, to 7 years imprisonment and a fine of 1 million naira for the sexual exploitation of 2 girls aged 9 and 10, an offence punishable under Section 16, Subsection 1 of the Trafficking in Persons Prohibition, Enforcement and Administration Act 2015. Also, a federal high court in Jigawa recently sentenced a 28-year-old female, Blessing John, to 1 year imprisonment without option of fine for attempting to procure the illegal entry of a female victim from Abia State to Libya through Kano and Jigawa states. So far, NAPTIP has secured 17 convictions in 2023.
Hey, hi, Honorable, this snap too much.
Oh yeah, make una beat Christ come out for him body.
The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act 2015 don't talk who say to carry dangerous weapon or send thugs or any use of power and by force to take settle political matter. Now serious offense wey fit land you 4 years imprisonment. For government worker wey cause gbege na 4 years imprisonment, and for those wey dey supporters club nko na 2 years for prison.
We no go gree, oh, we no go gree. Political violence, we no go gree. If una see any political violence for FCT, abeg make una run go NAPTIP to report or call 070-300-00203 or 627 for people wey dey use MTN. Na NAPTIP and Center for Democracy and Development CDD bring una this message.
Finally, it's time to bring you an account of a victim.
I'm 18 years old. I was in a Bible with my auntie. One woman said that she wants a girl to come to Abuja, come and take care of his child. My auntie now hand over me to her. She now brought me to Abuja. She now put me in school and now go to school. After After 13, and I no go to school again. One of my clothes lost. I'm the one that first person that report that one of my clothes has lost. He said, let me look for the clothes and his child clothes. Let me look for all the house, whether they scatter with another cloth. I say, okay, mommy. I look for the cloth. I'm not seeing the cloth. When she came back, she said, whether I look for the cloth. I say, no. I say, yes, mommy. That I look for the cloth. I'm not seeing the cloth. She started beating me. He said, let me look for the cloth. With the second time, he said, let me look for the clothes. Whether they scatter it, whether I go give for a boyfriend house or any person house that I know. I say, mommy, that I don't know anybody here that not carry any clothes here. Go to another person's house. She beat me. After beating me, and I'm fair self. After beating me once, and I stand up. When I stand up, and I run from the house, and I see one woman, and I report all what happened to that woman. The woman brought me to one police man in Soka village, and then I told what happened to that man. The man took me to NAPTIP. I said, thank you, NAPTIP, for rescuing me, for protecting me and guiding me and giving me food. Thank you.
For more inquiries and support, or to report cases of suspected human trafficking, violence against persons and child abuse, please call NAPTIP hotline 0703 0000203 or the short code 627, or email us info@naptip.gov.ng. Visit our website www.naptip.gov.ng. Follow us on our social media platforms at NAPTIP Nigeria, or watch our videos on YouTube.
Our time is fast spent, but I must thank you for watching NAPTIP On The Move and urge you to join us again same time next week. I'm Angela Agbigi. Hope to see you again soon.